All right, I wanted to add a video at the end of this icnd2 series for those people that are focused on taking the exam. Just my teaching style is I try not to teach to exam focus just because it can kind of make material run dry. Meaning if every 5 minutes I'm saying, okay, prepare for the exam, remember this, remember that, and all that kind of thing. And Cisco lends itself to that because Cisco is one of the few exam creators or certification systems that actually tests on the real world. Meaning, if you don't know how to do it in the real world, you're not going to pass the exam. So what I wanted to do was take some special focus on this last video and briefly talk about some last words for exam takers. I've gone through and I've taken every single one of the brand new CCNA exams, the icnd1, icnd2, and the All-in-Wonder CCNA. Now, if you are just getting into the certification arena, let me talk about the difference. icnd1 and icnd2 are the split, meaning when Cisco revised the CCNA, they split it into two separate certifications. Passing icnd1 gives you the Cisco Certified Entry-Level Network Technician certification. Passing icnd1 and icnd2 gives you the CCNA, and the second path you can take is to take the all-in-one exam, the bottom one, CCNA. So I just wanted to give you briefly what the difference is between all these. First off, icnd1 is really a focus on network architecture. And do you understand what networks are all about? Now, my main thing that I came away with when I took that exam is, well, I guess two overarching themes. I thought when I finished icnd1, if you really don't know how networks work, I mean, nuts to bolts, and you really, don't know how packets are crossing the wire and what's in headers and what MAC addresses are used for and that kind of thing, you're not going to pass that exam. And in that token, I'll say they did an excellent job for an entry-level certification in creating an exam that won't let people skate by just trying to memorize some material. The main topic that I saw in that exam was subnetting. If you aren't good with subnetting, that exam will be very difficult. Subnetting. Just questions from break this network into multiple subnets to reverse engineering subnets to how many hosts are in this subnet and all of those kind of things is what was on that exam. Also, and I mentioned that, you got to know how networks work, and I put SimCity. I encountered more simulation questions on icnd1 than I have on any Cisco certification exam I've ever taken. Somewhere in the range of 4 to 6 simulations is what I encountered, which was good in my mind to think, well, if you don't know how to do this, that's what the simulations are testing. They say, here's your objectives, go ahead and do this. It's going to be a tough exam. Now let's move into icnd2. icnd2 is what this series focused on, and passing this along with icnd1 will get you the CCNA. icnd2, I found a lot of focus on troubleshooting. And after sitting down, whenever I take one of those exams, I kind of sit down for about 15 minutes after the exam in the lobby of wherever I took it and just kind of write down topic after topic after topic of what I remember from that exam because it helps me teach the material better. And when I was writing that, I was like, well, I had to troubleshoot this and I had to troubleshoot that. Sometimes in simulations, sometimes in a multiple choice style question of this problem is occurring. What do you think the most likely solution is or most likely cause of this problem? The reason I think it was such a heavy focus on troubleshooting is because to troubleshoot an issue effectively, you not only have to know how it works and how it's supposed to be set up, but also have some experience of seeing things go wrong and watching when something goes wrong, what is the result of that? And then recognizing that and saying, oh, well, this is what I need to do to fix that. That's why I'll try and spin it this way. That's why when you've watched many of the demos in this entire series, when things go wrong, I don't stop the video. Well, most of the time anyway. I try and work through it with the video still recording because okay, I'll admit it. Most of the times I don't intend on things going wrong, but sometimes they do. And I think how valuable is that to be able to see what the problem was and troubleshoot it. Likewise, in icnd2, I really felt there was a lot of focus on NAT command line configurations. So one of the big differences between icnd1 and icnd2 was in icnd1, all NAT configuration was done through the Cisco SDM, the Security Device Manager, or the GUI. You just kind of next, next, finish, and you've configured NAT. In icnd2, we went through all of the command line systems to do it, from configuring NAT overload to configuring static NAT and creating these mappings into your network, to creating an overload with dynamic NAT, meaning, and very focused on this one, meaning set up a pool of addresses, a pool of public addresses, and NAT to that pool, incorporating overload at the same time. Now, icnd2 really, again, and I say this and it's hard for me to put this into words, but it really required a deep understanding of the concepts. Meaning when you understand a concept at a surface level, you can answer a multiple choice question on it. But to have a deep understanding of it means that you not only know how to set something up, but also, and I guess this combines with number one, when things go wrong, what does that look like? If a certain feature like an access list or a NAT configuration is not set up correctly, what would that problem look like? So that's what I really felt was the focus on ICND2. Now, if you are the brave soul that is going for the all-in-one CCNA exam, uh, there is a need for speed. Meaning, the CCNA, I will tell you, when I took that exam, it is extremely difficult, and there was, I would say, 2, 3 different simulations on that exam that take quite a while. You really have to thoroughly configure a network, but really, the difference on the CCNA was the need for speed. You need to be able to do everything that you were doing on the ICND and ICND2 exams, ICND 1 and 2, but you need to be able to do it fast. And that's, I think, the pressure in there. You really are faced against the clock. It's not like the questions are that much different or that much more difficult. It's just you are really put against the clock. And to give you an idea, you need to be able to reverse engineer subnets in about 20 seconds or less. That was one of my notes I jotted down when I got out of the exam. And what I mean is when you see a scenario, you see a PC and they say this PC has the IP address 192.168.5.26 slash 28. You need to be able to look at that and kind of reverse engineer it to say, okay, that came from the range of 192.168.5.16 through 31. I just did that in my head, so hopefully that's right. You know, in 20 seconds or less, be able to just kind of look at it, do the binary, find the increments, and work with that because there's many question types that are focused on subnetting as a side note, meaning it is a question that tests you on your subnetting skill, but the primary focus of the question is something like an access list gone wrong or a frame relay configuration where 2 devices are on the wrong subnet. But unless you're able to quickly reverse engineer those subnet masks, it's very difficult to see those problems. So that's the 3 exams in all their glory, just kind of a brief overview of what those exams are like. Last thing I'll say about my true last words on the last words for exam takers is that these exams are difficult. I have to admit, when I took them, out of all of them, I thought ICND1 was the toughest, and I still am trying to figure out why I thought that one was the toughest. It may just be that I've been into the advanced classes in Cisco and teaching a lot of the advanced topics, and to kind of reverse my mind back to the very beginning, I thought maybe that's what was difficult, but I really thought, wow, that's, like, to give you an idea, I went into that test center, and I kind of, tilted my chair back. I'm like, okay, I kind of have the mentality, I'm here to take these exams just to see what's on them. It's almost like a no-brainer in my exam. Oh yeah, you'll pass just fine. I would say by about question 5 on ICND1, my chair was down on the floor, and I'm thinking in my mind, the thought shoots through my head, I cannot not pass this exam. Like it suddenly crosses my mind, like, Jeremy, you've gone through every single Cisco certification that there is, or I should say the primary ones, and you're about to miss the basic one. And that seriously crossed my mind. So I relay that to you to let you know these exams are tough. They're the toughest in the industry. And there may be times where you go take this and it might take you twice or sometimes even three times to pass this exam successfully. Don't let that discourage you. It's normal. I've had people email me that say, "Hey, it's taken me six times to pass this exam, but on the sixth time, I finally got it and I feel great, and everything like that." Six times is a lot, but at the same time, it does take time. Not only are you going against some very difficult concepts, but you have to remember you're going against yourself as well. Half of the game in taking these exams and passing them successfully is fighting your own nerves when you get in there. Just, breathing easy, realizing where you are in the exam, realizing how much time you have left. And if you haven't taken many of these exams before, it can really catch you off guard that you're on question 40 of 58 and you look up and there's 3 minutes remaining on the exam and you're thinking, next, and you're trying to just blaze through them and make it through the exam. It really is an experience that you can't explain. You just have to do it for yourself, and it may take a couple times to pass. I emphasize that because I've seen some people who really know what they're doing and really understand these concepts, and they go and they miss the exam once and they just think, oh, this must not be for me. I must not know this, or this must be the wrong career field. These are extremely difficult exams, and it may take a few times before you successfully pass. But what I will guarantee you is when you finish these tests, pass or fail, you will know that was a very fair exam. Okay, this is my true last words. I've taken some exams for, I'll just say, other certification vendors. And I've taken those exams, and when I finish the exam, I think, wow, that's a scandalous test. They are really, trying to trick you in word games. And did you read this right, or is that the best answer? Really, I mean, like there's five right answers, but what one's really the best answer? You're not going to get that kind of stuff in the Cisco world. They're very straightforward and very right on. I write books for many of the publishers out there for Cisco, and one of the most recent books I did was a CCNA practice questions book. And it's funny because you have all the publishers' guidelines, and they say, okay, if you're writing questions for and again, I said I'm not going to say what kind of exams, but this sort of certification exam, write them very convoluted. Try and trick people with word games and kind of words that could mean two different things, or try and slide a double negative, like two knots by each other in there to trip them up. But when they're talking about writing questions for Cisco, the publisher's guideline says be straight up. Straightforward, cut and dry. This is the question. Do you know it or you don't? Kind of thing. And be very conceptual in what you're talking about. Make sure they can really visualize all of that. So these exams are extremely fair. Okay. I promise that was my last words. I've said enough. I will say, I wish you the best. Good luck with this certification journey if that's your focus. Otherwise, certification or not, I wish you well in all things Cisco, because I'll tell you what, this is the coolest career, in my opinion, that exists in the IT industry. And I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing. Bye-bye.